The new signing of alleged industry plans for Bats by OVO.
He just said industry plan out the rip. Oh my gosh.
With the new signing of alleged industry plans for Bats by OVO, many hip-hop fans are already calling it a costly mistake from the up-and-coming rapper. Because when it comes to Drake's history with signing artists, it unfortunately gets as dark as his love life.
I ain't gonna, yeah, he brought the love life into it, but I ain't gonna lie. The only good one that came out of Drake's camp was Party Next Door. He barely dropped. He dropped a good ass album right now, but he barely dropped.
It's your boy Luesta, and today we're going to be taking a closer look at Drake's OVO label, which can often be viewed as a place where music prospects go to faithfully end their careers. So let's begin with the interesting case of The Weeknd, who now jumps at every opportunity to diss Drake after he infamously turned down an OVO contract way back in 2012, to the surprise of everyone, including Drake himself. The Weeknd was just another up-and-coming local artist from Toronto who was homeless and dreamt of making a career for himself through his unique R&B vocals and raw lyrics. His early releases caught the attention of Drake's manager, who shared some of his songs on the OVO blog. Soon, Drake would begin attending his shows and tweeting out his lyrics. They eventually began working together, with Drake singing his praise whenever he could.
The Weeknd is so amazing tonight. He's like one of the greatest artists I've ever heard, and he's on my album a lot. We really like collaborated a lot on this album, and not only did he inspire me to like get out there and try and sing better on stage, but he inspired me like just writing wise and music wise, just to better my product, you know.
Over time, Drake and The Weeknd's relationship deepened beyond mere inspiration, and eventually they joined forces to create Drake's classic album, Take Care. At the time, The Weeknd didn't realize that doing so would lead to a complete disaster later down the road. Initially, Abel intended to use 5 songs for his own album, House of Balloons, but ended up giving them to Drake after sharing them for feedback. On top of that, Drake received a considerable amount of help on the writing process for the project, which seems to be a detail he prefers not to highlight. This ties into Drake's long-standing sensitivity about his use of ghostwriters, an issue brought to the light by Meek Mill in 2015, challenging Drake to constantly try and prove that he indeed does write his songs.
You know, I've really made my peace. I have no embarrassment when it comes to what I did on that album. You know, I mean, I worked with somebody on, I think, 4 or 5 songs on that record. I pulled my weight when it came to my pen.
And it became clear that over time, Drake would go irritated at the fact that The Weeknd basically wrote his best work. When Complex posted an old photo showing Drake looking at an early draft of the Take Care track list, one user took a jab at Drake by saying that Take Care was mostly written by The Weeknd. Drake saw this as disrespectful and quickly replied, trying to undermine the fans' claim, saying that Abel only co-wrote 2 songs and featured on another 2, which is nothing considering the project had 20 songs on it. This kind of explains why Drake was giving The Weeknd so much love in the months leading up to the release of Take Care. At the time, Abel says he let him have the song.
I'm not saying that right now because I'm learning for myself.
Because he was hungry for success and the level of fame that being connected to Drake would bring him.
Like, you know, I came in as, you know, my big bro and, you know, showed the world, you know, what I could do. And then, you know, from then on, it's been like, he's always been supporting me.
And at this point,
because I've been trying to figure out how did it fall out. Because on Crew Love, that song right there.
Drake had already formed his own record label called OVO and was preparing for The Weeknd to become one of his first signees. But to everyone's surprise, The Weeknd ended up signing with Republic Records instead of OVO. And judging by this tweet sent by Drake shortly after this announcement, you can tell that he was salty about it. You won't get away with just a thank you. You owe me a favor. For years, Drake would constantly be asked where the disconnect happened between them and why The Weeknd refused to sign despite all that Drake did to put him on.
With Abel, we had our run. You know, we had our moments on Take Care, and you know, my features on his projects, and he just really came to me at one point, came to all of us and was like, look, like I don't want to sign under another artist because I feel like I could be just as big or bigger, and I want to start my own thing. And it was never like, I'm to this day, I'm always excited.
I mean, you can't find no disrespect in that. That's somebody actually wanna be better. Cause I wouldn't want to sign under an artist either. There's some people that has a place for that, and some people that don't.
Happy for all those guys.
And look where you're at now.
And I never like had any resentment towards like, oh, you didn't stay on OVO. That was never really like, I'm not gonna say there weren't people that didn't feel a way about it, but that was never my thing. I never expected Abel to stay under OVO. As soon as I heard him once express that he wanted to do his own things.
Although Drake now claims it never annoyed him that Abel wanted to do his own thing, you could see how desperate Drake was for The Weeknd to be a part of OVO.
But no matter what anybody tells you in this lifetime, this is forever the first artist that OVO ever had and still has, and OVO XO is alive forever, I promise.
However, these words would utter a false sense of reality, as Drake would later do something that would permanently destroy their working relationship forever. In October of 2017, Bella Hadid had just gotten out a pretty public relationship with The Weeknd, and shortly after, her and Drake became an item for a couple of months. Many fans believe that Drake had broken the bro code by dating his homeboy's ex. After this, the two would end up sending a ton of subliminal shots towards each other for years, one of which came on the song titled Finesse, which many interpreted as Drake saying that he finessed Bella Hadid from The Weeknd, and with Abel saying things like, "Cause too many people think they made me, well, if they really made me, then replace me," and "I just want a baby with the right one, cause I can never be the one to hide one," which is a clear shot to Drake, who was known for hiding his son Adonis before Pusha T exposed him. It's obvious that there's a ton of animosity between the two former collaborators. However, fast forward to today, and Drake now claims that he has nothing but love for The Weeknd. At one point, he was even seen chilling on IG Live, listening to some of his music. But for The Weeknd, it's clear that he still has a deep resentment towards Drake, as he keeps launching subliminal shots towards him, and he even recently appeared on Future's latest album, which was featured with subliminal shots towards Drizzy all across the board. However, the fact of the matter is that Drake had missed out on signing a huge star, but he probably wouldn't have grazed the level of fame he's at right now if he stayed under OVO, as was the case with another fellow Canadian artist by the name of PartyNextDoor, who permanently lives in Drake's shadow after he was signed to OVO. Much like The Weeknd, Party was another artist with raw vocals and a strong pen game, who Drake took notice of and began sharing his songs on Twitter. However, unlike The Weeknd, Drake actually got him to sign a contract to his label, and almost immediately, he began getting compared to Abel, which sparked tensions between them.
That something exists between The Weeknd and PartyNextDoor. I don't necessarily know what it is or where it stems from, but I felt like for the past few years, personally, The Weeknd has gone out of his way to step on any announcement or move that PartyNextDoor was trying to make. No, if you tweet, "Yo, my album is coming in this month," and then some huge megastar comes and says, "Yo, dropping tonight." Or dropping
Megastars
tonight.
don't do things on a whim.
Facts, yeah.
That's what y'all keep telling me. But I don't think any of it is on a whim, because clearly he had these things done. PartyNextDoor put a video out, Weeknd put a video out an hour later. So clearly the video was done.
Regardless, PartyNextDoor was extremely talented and should have exploded as an artist, but he never expected what would become of his career. At first, his stuff was performing really well, with his first studio mixtape peaking at number 34 on the charts, and he was receiving a lot of praise from his fans early on, with people saying that OVO might actually become a successful label. But as time went on, Drake's tendencies to yoink songs from artists that he signed got the better of him, as an entire PartyNextDoor song was featured as an
I was
interlude
just
on
gonna say that because I was just listening to that song while I was going to work.
Drake's album, If You're Reading This, Is Too Late. The interlude served as a melodic break from the otherwise rap-heavy album. And just like The Weeknd, PartyNextDoor was initially appreciative of the exposure, since a lot more people would get to listen to what his songs typically sounded like on his own. However, he probably regretted this choice down the road and wishes he kept the song for his own album, because around this point, Party's career began to take a back seat, with many assuming OVO was the main issue. His debut studio album, PartyNextDoor 2, only sold 15,000 copies in its first week. Meanwhile, the songs which he was writing for Drake were doing numbers. Legend, Come and See Me, and With You were all Drake songs that Party either wrote entirely, produced, or was significantly involved with creating.
I recorded that song on the edge of a bed in an Airbnb, and yeah, I just didn't know it was gonna be that though. I love that record. It's one of my favorite records, and that was just magic.
At this point, it just seemed like Drake was signing artists who can help him write more bangers and create more hit songs. So it's no wonder that people liken OVO to Drake's personal writing camp rather than an actual label, or in the words of DJ Academics, it was literally a sweatshop.
No, I'm not saying it would have been better for The Weeknd, but I'm just saying the
That's
scope
crazy how Academics look right here, bro. He's skinnier. Oh my, this looks weird, bro.
of music.
The sweatshop, bro? Like, I'm glad The Weeknd did his own thing.
Party Next Door went on to write a lot of songs on Drake's 2018 Scorpion album, which had a ludicrous first week sales number and a humongous amount of streams. He also wrote some hits for DJ Khaled and even wrote 2 songs on Rihanna's Anti album, including Work, which won R&B Song of the Year and got Drake and Rihanna even more popularity. On the other hand, Party's second studio album P3, which he released that same year, didn't perform nearly as amazing as the people he was writing for. Not to say that he was necessarily doing bad. I mean, the album peaked at #1, but it couldn't be compared to Drizzy or Rihanna. Party clearly had an amazing pen and was also really good at producing, but he can never get past a certain level with his own music. Some people chalk this down to his voice not being as good as the people he writes for, while others believe it's the curse of being in Drake's shadow.
Hey, it's just the curse of being in Drake's shadow because his shit is good as fuck.
Party's pen is probably, I agree with y'all, it's probably more valuable today than his artistry, than him as an act himself, much like probably Neo when he came in the game. But I love Sex With Me, fuck Shining, all the shit that Party is writing is my favorite song.
So essentially, you're naming all the songs he's writing for other people.
Well, I think Party's album was trash.
Now, we're not saying he's had an unsuccessful career. I mean, he still averages around 20 million monthly listeners on Spotify and has royalties for generations to come. For Party, there is still somewhat of a win-win with his affiliation on OVO. However, when it comes to I Love Makonnen, he literally got dropped from the label after what he did to the Six God. During the beginning of the SoundCloud era in 2014, Makonnen was blowing up in Atlanta with his breakout song Tuesday and his EP I Don't Sell Molly No More. He was receiving a lot of attention from the music industry and even had his song shared by Miley Cyrus. But Drake saw the potential to make the song even bigger and got into contact with Makonnen through Sonny Digital.
Sonny hit me up like, yo, Makonnen, Drake said he want to get on the song. I was like, that's crazy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even, know Drake. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, he a famous artist and shit, but I was like, that's dope if you can make that happen, son.
Before anyone knew what was happening, a remix of the song had been made, and Makonnen had signed under OVO as an artist, which his manager thought was a bad idea.
These motherfuckers convinced him to take his own music down. That's when I knew he was lost. That's when I knew this motherfucker was lost.
What he's speaking about here is the deal which Makonnen had signed at OVO. He had 2 options: sign the contract as a one-time deal for the Tuesday remix, which would require him to pay Drake, or sign to OVO as an artist, but pay nothing and take down all of his old songs. At this point, Makonnen...
No, they really finessed him. Either way, it was a lose-lose. Cause you gotta pay, option 1, you paying Drake for the feature. Option 2, you gotta take down all your other music, bro. That's why I didn't see all the other music no more. Drake really...
OVO as an artist, but pay nothing and take down all of his old songs. At this point, Makonnen had 10 albums to his name, which was pretty significant for a newcomer, which is why his...
That's why I didn't see all the other albums anymore. I'm like, why did they go down, bro?
Manager felt the second option was a bad deal since they also had other offers on the table.
Makonnen got a hit produced by us. You know what I'm saying? But he signed to Mike Will and shit, though. OVO trying to get him, Mike Will trying to get him.
Makonnen was supposed to be the next big thing, and everyone was expecting him to pop off after signing a deal with one of the biggest artists in the world. But instead, his career basically just began to fall off of a cliff. His new studio album got delayed time after time, which seriously derailed the hype for new music. When asked about this, he stated that he wasn't being trusted and allowed to put out music when he wanted to, claiming that I Love Makonnen 2 had been ready for months, but it just hadn't been approved by the label. Although he did appear on one of Drake's tours, it kind of seemed like everyone at OVO didn't really like him. Drake already got what he wanted, which was the remix of his viral song, so there's not much attachment to Makonnen as an artist. And after old tweets surfaced of Makonnen dissing Drake and OVO, the whole situation got worse. His verses would be cut off on stage, he would no longer be able to get help from producers, and had almost zero promotion on his album. However, Makonnen did try to defend himself, saying that the tweets were the work of hackers.
Like some trolls they pulled him up and stuff, and then OVO, Drake and them, they found out about him or whatever, and we kind of talked about it, but it looked bad out there in that, and we really didn't know each other, you know what I'm saying? Right. And then there was another time when my account got hacked by somebody, and they said like, fuck OVO, fuck this, fuck that.
So your account did get hacked?
No, full on got hacked. Okay.
At the time, not many people bought into this, especially not the OVO crew. Makonnen continued to receive absolutely zero support from OVO and was eventually confirmed to be dropped from the label after this hilariously bad freestyle came out.
Motherfucker said I got dropped. Haha, that's a motherfucking hip hop shit.
You know that's a motherfucking lie. Only place I drop that is in my goddamn pants side.
When this freestyle dropped, it caused a lot of people to further understand why OVO hadn't been letting him put out music frequently, as his stuff just wasn't that good. The I Love Makonnen 2 album, which he claimed OVO delayed, wasn't very good when it released, and although Makonnen claimed that it would have done better if OVO let him release it in the summer, a lot of people felt Makonnen just got lazy after being signed. If you think about it, it makes a lot of sense why OVO wasn't pulling the stops out to support Makonnen. From Drake's perspective, it probably looked like Makonnen was an embarrassment for him and the rest of the OVO crew. Following the drama between them, Drake would press Makonnen at the 2016 VMAs, saying, "Woo woo woo, next time I'ma smack the shit out of you," which is such a Drake thing to say. When Makonnen finally got his total freedom, he explained all that he had been through at OVO and how it felt like a prison. He said he only saw Drake 3 times throughout his stay there and that his music was never promoted. Makonnen ended up being a one-hit wonder, and his failure at OVO shouldn't have come as a surprise, since it had happened before with an other artist-producer duo, Majid Jordan. Majid Al-Maskati and Jordan Ullman are an artist-producer duo from Toronto, Canada, who went from making songs in their college dorm to eventually having one of their projects explode on SoundCloud. Their After Hours EP got them a ton of attention by Drizzy, and they immediately got signed to OVO since he doesn't play about his Canadian talent. After they got signed, Drake immediately extracted an instant classic from the duo called Hold On, We're Going Home, which peaked at number 4 and charted for 33 weeks on the Billboard Hot 100. However, not many people knew back then that the entire song was actually made by the duo and that Drake had just slapped his vocals onto it. This approach contributed to Drake's mixed reputation as a label owner. Although he attempted to boost his artists by featuring on their tracks, this strategy rarely translated into their music blowing up. For example, Majid Jordan's debut album featured Drake and still only sold 5,000 units in its first week, despite spending 5 weeks on the charts and receiving positive feedback. Ultimately, it struggled to break them into the mainstream.
I haven't gotten Majid Jordan, who I like. If their EP was, if their album was as good as their EP, more people would like them.
After that, they released project after project, but none of them ended up doing spectacular. Part of the reason that the records didn't get much promotion could be the fact that their music didn't appeal to a wider audience. But Majid Jordan doesn't seem to care about the public perception of their music. They seem perfectly fine with riding the association with Drake and a respectable 8 million monthly Spotify listeners. Because why take the risk of going at it solo when you can probably ghostwrite for Drizzy and still get paid for doing music? This is especially true for artists who aren't that talented on their own. Which brings me to the last 2 artists we will discuss. Baka Not Nice and Smiley. Baka Not Nice and
I was about to say, where's Smiley at? Cause that nigga trash.
Smiley are 2 artists Drake seemed to sign because of a genuine connection. Baka had been Drake's bodyguard since the early days and was signed as a way to help support him after he got released from jail. But his music didn't really slap and only managed to chart once in Canada in 2017. He still remains on the label, releasing tracks here and there. While Smiley is a more recent signing who has a very, how do I say, interesting style of rapping.
She wanna be known, I wanna be in my zone. She wanna be known, I wanna be in my zone.
Yeah, Drake is not.
As soon as I heard Drake sign him, I knew it was like raps. It had to be raps because Drake might have well signed me after this.
Beating the allegations. This signing left fans a little stunned, as he probably has the least chance of making it in the hip-hop scene. Some are even coming up with pretty wild theories like, if I were betting, I say Smiley uses his rap career to launder for some sort of trafficking he does, allegedly. But I think that the reality is that Drake just seems to like his music and mess with him on a personal level. Because after his collaboration with Drake in 2021, he hasn't made any waves in the industry, and I just can't see what he could bring to OVO commercially at this moment. The story of OVO has been repetitive and unfruitful. It's been essentially the same for all of his signings. Drake signs them, hops on a song or two, then leaves them to fend for themselves. The artists either end up leaving the label like Plaza, who was initially hyped up to be the new Weeknd, or fade into the background like DVSN or Roy Woods, who were very talented artists, now regulated to the sweatshop after a few hits. Recently, Drake signed his first female artist, Naomi Sharon, and the Texas industry plant 4Bats after hopping on a remix of his viral song Day at 8. This follows a trend of broken dreams, and only time will tell if he'll manage to survive.
They said he signed an album deal or EP deal or something like that. But the thing is, he signed an EP deal, but Drake's not even on the EP. So how does that work? Mm-hmm. I'm gonna do this one tomorrow.